Woo-wee! Good morning, everybody. I've been in here chatting for quite a while with you guys. Who did I miss? I see Angel P's in. Hello, Angel P. Single mom of four. Debbie made it in. Fun to Ski was one of our trivia winners yesterday. Yes. I've been talking with Slim. We had a great members live yesterday. It's not viewable right now because one of the songs that I played, you guys are going to love this. One of the songs that I played in the members live yesterday is not suitable for Russia. So I'm in the process of editing that out. But it was a lot of fun. We played trivia, got to know Gaelic, and I cannot wait for the next one. Hello, Ryan Christie. What's going on, my friend? Mary Glick made it in. Angela made it in. So I have to watch what I say today. I don't want to offend any Russians. You know, that was just really not the way to start my day. My God. And of all songs, it was Hungry Like a Wolf. Has anybody listened to Duran Duran lately? Hello, Sarah Wood. She said, we're not Russian though. Yeah. Don't want that to happen. Hungry like a wolf. That's what sets the Russians off. You have got to be kidding me. Woo! Damn. We weren't even making fun of Duran Duran. YouTube is getting real wonky. I don't know what we're going to do about old YouTube. I better just mind my P's and Q's, if you know what I mean. Hello, Whist. Whist said, yes, I listen to Duran Duran all the time. Do the Russians know? Whist, do the Russians know you listen to Duran Duran? Don't tell the Russians. All right, big news overnight. Big news overnight. First, let's take a second to tell everybody hello. Hi, hello, howdy. Hello, Lala. Woohoo! We have some new names in here. Grab a seat, settle in. We're an easy group to get to know. If you saw us yesterday on the members live, you would think we were all next door neighbors. We were laughing so much, it was hard to get through the show. But that's what happens. Just don't play hungry like a wolf because you'll get an email from YouTube that says it's not suitable for audiences in Russia. True story. KGB does not like Duran Duran. But anyway, as I was saying, overnight, big news. So before I get to the show, I want to talk about what happened yesterday in Hawkins County. Same terrain. Summer is missing in. Little boy, absolutely adorable, was found. He was found with maybe 1/10 of the resources that Hawkins County had to find Summer. I rest my case. We know there's no abduction, and if she wandered off, she'd be found. Because kids do wander off. They get curious. They do. They go play. They lose their way. And they're found because, see, they're above the earth. They're walking around, trying to find their way back home. Literally wandering around. Let's look at this.
Channel 11.
A happy ending tonight in the search for a missing boy in Hawkins County. 4-year-old Dalton Drennan has been found safe. Good evening, I'm Josh Smith. Sarah Diamond is off tonight. The endangered child alert issued earlier tonight by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has been canceled. Crews spent hours tonight searching for the little boy who investigators said walked away from his home this afternoon. He wasn't wearing any shoes. The search area was on Sandy Valley Road in Hawkins County. You could see on this map where the road is in relation to Rogersville. Much of Sandy Valley Road is in a wooded area. News Channel 11's Catherine Simpson's been on that road all night, and she's live now in Hawkins County with a late update. Catherine?
Josh, I'm here at the Striggersville Volunteer Fire Department, where earlier today, Hawkins County Rescue Squad set up a command center for their search for Dalton Drennan.
He's pretty well probably dehydrated because he's probably been gone 5 or 6 hours.
After a multi-agency search, Hawkins County 4-year-old Dalton Drennan was found about a half mile from his home just before 9 p.m.
With his dog, what we've been told, that he had a little yellow lab with him. So
I think I startled him as much as he startled me, and then he realized like who I was, and he was just standing there.
Had his puppy dog with him. Had his puppy dog with him. CR said, praise God, he was found. Tiffany said, how long are we going to play this game with Candace? Yeah.
Watching me.
Crews from the Hawkins County Rescue Squad, Sheriff's Office, multiple volunteer fire departments, and even the FBI looked for Drennan, who was reported missing after 4 p.m. A command center was organized at the Striggersville Volunteer Fire Department, and a missing child alert was elevated to endangered child shortly after 7 Wednesday evening.
time frame of coming in, and actually hadn't found anything at the moment. So then it gets bumped up, start calling in more resources and getting better resources in than what we just have locally here, other than just putting boots on the ground.
Hawkins County Rescue Squad Captain Gerald Moore says he's thankful for the work put in by law enforcement and volunteers to bring Drennan home safely.
Actually had some members come in as far as across the mountain from Hancock County. So it's kind of been a region-wide search, but this is what makes us all volunteer and what makes it work. When this happens, everybody shows up and we put in a collective effort on it.
Moore told me that about 120 to 150 individuals were involved in the search for Drennan tonight. Some Hawkins County officials told us that Drennan and his mother were transported to a local hospital for a regular health check. He did not appear to be injured. Live in Hawkins County, I'm Catherine Simpson, News Channel 11.
Well, thank goodness for good news. Sonia Allen said, this convinces me now that Candace got Summer gone before going home. Yeah. Hello, Wendy. Now tell me why his dog followed him, who wandered off, but the pack of 15 to 20 dogs that the Wells had didn't follow Summer. Not even one of them. It's not like they just had one dog there that was too lazy to get off the porch. You tell me not why not even one of their dogs followed Summer. Absolutely ridiculous. We heard the case a couple of years ago about little Vady in Alabama. And she was found with her puppy dog. But you're telling me not one dog on that hill. I mean, Don says they bark at rocks. Well, they were barking at Chris McDonough when he pulled up. They were on vacation. They weren't there that day. But not one dog followed his inert animal instinct to follow Summer. Not even one. Not even one. All right, let's get to the comments from the last show. The Gates of Dawn. What a cool name. And it's DAWN. W-N, not D-O-N. The Gates of Dawn said, why did Candace not get arrested after it was revealed what she'd been up to the day Summer went missing? The alcohol to a minor, especially if she has a positive substance screening test. Did she have a positive test? I'm still scratching my head what's going on. Going to question the teenager about what he had revealed to the law after not supposedly being allowed to make contact. I can't agree with this more. I think Candace should have been put in jail for that initially. I think she should have been put in jail for that. And I think she should have been put in jail for changing her story. Because obviously, lying to Facebook isn't going to get you in trouble, but lying to the police will. And we know that we have a different story. You see, she had her back turned doing dishes, and Summer walked out the door. Then she was pouring some cereal for Summer, and Summer walked out the door. Then we become the landscaper of the day, and we're planting succulents, replanting them. By the way, it would take 150 years for one of those plants to outgrow their container. Gotta be kidding me. But yes, I agree. And that's the reason we're going to go side by side today. And we are going to talk about the difference in how Jeff Cassidy handled the disappearance of Evelyn Boswell and how it's being handled in Hawkins County. Now, I back the blue, but I don't back the blue no matter what they do, if you know what I mean. Sometimes when I see just lazy police work, it's got to be called out. Pat K left a comment. She said, I always wondered what Don meant when he said, and it was getting out of control. Yeah, what was getting out of control, Dawn? Her hair? And that's the reason you shaved her head? Because her head was getting out of control? Her hair? Because as we discussed on the show on Tuesday, Candace said that Summer wanted her head shaved because Candace had a head shave. Well, Candace doesn't. She said she wanted her head shaved like me and the boys. The boys do not have their head shaved. Neither does Candace. So I want to know too. It really had me scratching my head. I'd like to know too, Pat, what was getting out of control that you had to shave her head? Fine Art on Fire said, does anyone really believe that Don Jr. cried like a baby when Don told him Summer was gone? Don Jr. didn't even know Summer, and he doesn't strike me as the cry like a baby over someone he doesn't even know kind of guy. Anyone think that Don Jr. cried like a baby when his dad told him Summer was missing? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. No. No way. Diane said her head was shaved to resemble a boy. Hang on 1 second. Court case said he probably said Summer isn't gone, it's only June, or who's Summer? Yeah. He probably didn't even answer the damn phone, to be quite honest. He probably didn't even know. Cried like a baby. Get real. Did he cry like a baby when he assaulted a 14-year-old and went to jail? No. Craziness. Craziness. All right, let's get to it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start with the case of Evelyn Boswell. Now, when you see the difference in Jeff Cassidy's approach as opposed to Ronnie Lawson's, well, it tells you why we're sitting where we are today. But don't forget, today, it's on the screen, June 1st, 2023, 9 a.m., the grand jury is coming together. Now, does it have anything to do with summer? I have no idea, but you know I'm going to hold out hope. You know I'm going to hold out hope.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Austin Martin. It's in our top story all week long right here on WATE.com. There's a lot of twists and turns in the case of missing East Tennessee toddler Evelyn Boswell, so I'm going to try to help you understand it a little better and walk you through that timeline. It's been 1 week since an Amber Alert was first issued for a 15-month-old Evelyn Boswell. On Tuesday, February 19th, Evelyn was reported missing to the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office by the Tennessee Department of Children's Services. The original report telling us the Sheriff's Office, Evelyn had not been seen since late December. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issuing an Amber Alert the very next day, February 20th. The day after that, February 21st, we heard from the Sullivan County Sheriff himself, Jeff Cassidy, pledging $1,000 of his own money to rewards.
That's Jeff on the screen. Jeff Cassidy pledged $1,000 of his own money as a reward. $1,000 of his own money. And we all know law enforcement doesn't make very much money. $1,000 of his own money as a reward to find out what happened to Evelyn. Now, this was years ago. We know what happened to her now. Then what do we see with the reward fund in Hawkins County? It was never meant for summer. It was never meant for summer. They gave it 6 months, and then they're going to give it to the Child Advocacy Center, which is a slush fund for the Churchill Foundation. But this sheriff said, I'm putting up $1,000 of my own money. That's unheard of.
Personally donating $1,000 for award for any information that results in the safe return of Evelyn, and would like to solicit other community members or anybody from the nation to attach themselves with me to aid in bringing sweet Evelyn home.
Several other donors donating. Ballad Health and its CEO, Alan Levine, donating a combined of $30,000 in reward money. That afternoon, TBI officials issuing a statement on social media saying, in part, we now have information that indicates that individuals are traveling in a gray 2007 BMW car. That Friday night, a new development in the case, the Wilkes County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina found that BMW. William McLeod and Angela Boswell were arrested and charged with stolen property. Angela Boswell is Evelyn's grandmother.
Well, they didn't steal the car. The car was given to them by Megan's boyfriend, Hunter. So that's a crazy one, and I would have to do an entire case to break that down. But Tattoo and Meth Mom, they're no good, but they have nothing to do with what happened to Evelyn. Nani said, eyes like Leilani. Yeah, she didn't do it, though. But they had $30,000, which once Evelyn was found, everyone just got their money back. That's how you do it. Unless somebody gives you a tip to tell you where they're at, and then they get the money. But not in Hawkins County. Don't let the coin pusher money burn a hole in your pocket.
Back home in Tennessee, we heard from Evelyn's grandfather, Tommy Boswell Sr., saying he is the one who called DCS in the first place. Boswell claiming he had not seen little Evelyn since Thanksgiving and pledging another $10,000 towards that reward. Last weekend, a large group came together in Bristol to light candles and pray for her return. The next day, the community there holding another vigil and a food truck fundraiser to help with that reward. As the work week started Monday morning, Angela Boswell and William McLeod were arraigned in court. Angela Boswell waiving her legal representation and set to be extradited back to Sullivan County that night. Just hours later, we heard from Megan Boswell in an interview, Boswell giving yet another account of what happened to Evelyn and telling police she couldn't take a polygraph test because she was pregnant. The 26th marked 1 week into the investigation, the Sheriff's Department holding a press conference confirming the search for Evelyn had moved into North Carolina. This is chopper footage from Wilkes County there, showing investigators calling upon for the property of William McLeod's grandmother, the man arrested in connection to this case. That search deemed inconclusive. Thursday morning, that's this morning, Angela Boswell was back in front of a judge, this time in Kingsport, Tennessee. Boswell so far paying all but $1,000 of her bond. Her boyfriend, William McLeod, reportedly could be out of jail as soon as tomorrow morning. That's Friday.
He's supposed to have money gathered up tomorrow and possibility of getting him back out tomorrow on bond. But I think the stipulations are he has to wear an ankle bracelet when he gets out on bond.
And two more developments in the case. Officials in North Carolina saying they have confirmed Thursday that they were checking up on a tip that Evelyn Boswell was spotted at a KFC in Yadkinville with William McLeod about 3 weeks ago. Police confirming they are reviewing security footage and interviewing employees.
And let me tell you, hello, Christina.
Hello.
How are you, sweetheart?
Awesome. How are you?
Doing good. Just showing the difference between these two sheriffs because Jeff Cassidy runs a tight ship.
He did. I really followed Evelyn's case. So yeah, just keep going. I'll chime in.
And I'm going to go back and forth between cases. So as people come in and they want to know what we're talking about, if somebody could just let them know, because I'm going to go from Evelyn's case to Summer's case. And it's really confusing when I do that, but everybody here's smart, so they'll be all right.
I'll just say that I actually talked with Jeff Cassidy through email.
Oh, wow.
Because somebody had posted really legitimate tips and I wanted him to have them and they turned out to be correct. But in his email to me, it was very evident that it weighed really heavy on his heart. I believe he has 2 little children himself, and I think that's why he was so invested. But yeah, they knew from the beginning it was Maggie. It was just a matter of figuring out where the baby was. So
yeah, and she was in a trash can covered in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And here he is about to break down in tears, offering $1,000 of his own money, having food trucks come around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To raise reward money. And it was never put out like, hey, if we don't find her in 6 months, we're going to give this money to someone else.
Oh, no.
No, he would never allow that. Never.
No. And he never gave up.
The second tip tonight, just after 6:30, Sullivan County jail record information was released, and it indicates Megan Boswell is not pregnant, contradicting what she told police last week, saying she was unable to take a polygraph test. So a roundup of this case. Here's a few takeaways. Evelyn Boswell is still missing. Her mother, Megan Boswell, and her grandmother, Angela Boswell, and her grandmother's boyfriend, William McLeod, are still in the Sullivan County Jail tonight. They are ordered not to have contact with each other, and the police are telling us that they are following a lead in Yadkin County, North Carolina. We are working to find out as much as we can in this case. We want to give you one more look at Evelyn right now. If you have any information on where she might be tonight, please give the number on your screen a call right now. That's 1-800-TBI-FIND. From WATE.com, I'm Austin Martin.
Okay, so I'm going to cut to the chase. Jeff Cassidy arrested Megan for lying to the police. Now, as I said at the beginning of the show, Candace changed her story. When you change your story, you're wasting investigators' time. You're wasting taxpayer dollars. Her inappropriate relationship with Hunter, let me tell you something right now. If Hunter was a teenage girl, Candace would have been in jail.
Yeah, I agree.
She made a trip to Allie's just to find out what they had been telling the TBI. Now, who would do that if you're not involved? That's intimidating a witness. Ronnie Lawson, Pruitt, Dan Armstrong, somebody could have arrested her just for that.
And so you have to ask yourself, why didn't they? Do they have other charges they're going to look at today, maybe? I mean, it's exciting that there is a grand jury today, so there is the possibility that they'll talk about her, Summer.
Oh, I hope so, because a lot of times grand juries, they can discuss several cases all at once.
Yeah.
And I really hope something with Summer is brought up, because 2 years and no discovery of Summer, yet it just takes some hours to find children in other instances where they wandered off.
Well, like you said, the little boy. I mean, how far, she's 4. How far is she going to go by herself? If she's taken, who knows? But.
Well, and this little boy was barefoot too.
Mm-hmm.
He was barefoot when he was found with his puppy dog. But
Right.
we're supposed to believe that barefoot Summer got miles away within 10 minutes and not one dog on the property followed her? How does that, on what planet does that make sense?
Not mine.
It's crazy. All right, so we heard from Jeff Cassidy. He said, I'm going to put up $1,000 of my own money. Now, mind you, this was years ago. And Maggie won't be going to trial until 2025. And that is because she has a new attorney now. So he has to have time to get freshened up, if you know what I mean. So anyway, she's going down regardless. She's going down. But now we see Ronnie's demeanor very different. Listen.
I know there's a lot of social media going on out there, a lot of detectives going on, but they're absolutely useless unless these people that's 100% positive calls 1-800-TBI find. That means nothing. We're monitoring all social media and everything that you all put out from people that you all interview. And I assure you, you'd have to work very hard to find somebody that we hadn't talked to. They may not tell you. One point I want to make clear up, obviously, is a couple of days ago, I asked for the public not to help us in our search in the woods and stuff. That is because we know where every searcher is, where every team is, and the captain and his staff, they're tracking everyone. So if we get the general public in the woods, we don't know about it, then they're going to get missed when they go home or don't go home. So it's going to be somebody else that we have to generate time and information and resources to find.
He's bitching about tips. We have to generate resources and time because of social media. You know that's how people talk nowadays. They talk back and forth through social media. He could have utilized that the same way Jeff Cassidy did. Listen to him. Then giving him extra work.
I mean, I understand that he's worried about people getting lost up in the hills, because that does happen.
Sure.
But they're adults, and hopefully they have, trail markers or something. The people that went searching were not, the elderly for the most part, or people with difficulties being up in the hills. It was, hikers, people who have been in the area, who understand the trouble you can get in, or I can't think of the word, but the things you could encounter that would be harmful.
Well, we all know our own backyard.
Right.
So there was no harm in having the public go out and search. He's like, look around your property, look in your outbuildings.
Mm-hmm.
It's mowing season. Did you hear Jeff Cassidy say, hey, it's a warm day. If you're out mowing, if you happen to see a baby in a ditch, give me a call. No. And I can't, all this social media, Jeff Cassidy never said, and he knew, like he had a press conference one day and he said, there's a Facebook group with over 30,000 people in it.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, it was crazy too. And he said, we appreciate it and we're following up on everything. But you hear Ronnie Lawson, we're wasting resources. Okay. And most recently, yesterday, if you look on the screen, Brandon Lawson was transferred from Tennessee Department of Corrections to the custody of Granger County Detention Facility on May 31st, 2023. You see, with this coming to light, Ronnie needs to step down. We all know what his son did. You can't be in a position of authority and trust when you did everything you could to cover up your own son's sins.
100% agree. Absolutely.
Crime Time said, but so many said she couldn't have been missed in the searching. I don't see how she could have been. I mean, they found a little boy yesterday and they had maybe 1/10 of the resources. If a child wanders off, they're literally wandering around. I mean, they're going to find her someday. But wow.
What I did ask for, and I still need, is all the people in Upper Beach Creek, in Hawkins and Sullivan County to search their property again and again. You got to look for a small child. You have to look for evidence of a small child's being. And if you got field cameras, if you got security cameras, we need you to check those again. Just keep checking them and checking them. We're trying to find every vehicle is in this holler they're living since we started this. And we also did a roadblock, which helped at the same time that she was reported missing, to see if we come in contact with somebody that's been working that we could see. Obviously, there's nothing came out of that, but it's just another tool that we've used to make this happen. So,
roadblocks, heat-seeking drones, which found rats, rabbits, raccoons, helicopters, shoulder-to-shoulder grown adults walking for 2 weeks. Then they got special permission because the head of the TBI went to their state legislator to get money for an airplane that penetrates rock. So where in the hell is she?
I thought that was cool. I've never heard of an airplane that can penetrate rock.
They use them in Afghanistan. That's
well,
how
I was gonna say it was probably originally a military thing, and I know your son served over there, right, in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So he would know. He would know. But I thought that was cool, and I think it just goes to show that there's no way Summer's anywhere near there, in my opinion.
Doesn't seem like it.
Allegedly, in my opinion.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. And if the FBI card unit says, nope, she was not abducted, then that means they know more. If they're saying there's no abduction, and we all know that a stranger abduction And human trafficking is handled a different way. We see how Madalena Kojakari's case is being handled. We see how Michael Vaughn's case is being handled. This is not being handled that way.
Right. And I guess I keep
General public that lives in this area will go back and search their outbuildings, their barns, their hay fields. Now it's mowing season, so when they mow, they need to pay attention. And if you have a resident that cannot search their property themselves, if they'll call my office at 423-272-4848, I will send an officer to your residence to search your property for you. It's a cooperation that we must need, because I know some of the residents are probably getting frustrated with seeing the officers, but as the captain will tell you, we've had very intense operations all week long for 9 days now. And we're not done yet, because like I told you from day one, it's about finding Summer. That's the number one goal here. Yep.
It's about finding Summer. That's the number one goal here. Well, then find her. What's up, Trevor? Trevor's up here now. We got Trevor and Christina.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you feeling?
I'm hanging in there. Appreciate it.
Well, we got to keep you healthy, kid. We got to look out for you.
We got to look out for you, Trevor.
I wanted just to say that Lawson makes the comment, I know you're sick of seeing the cops around or the police around. No, nobody was probably sick of seeing cops around. They knew what they were doing. They weren't there to get them. They were there to find Summer. And I don't think anybody would have bitched about that.
That's funny. I was about to say the same thing. It's like there's no way that anybody was sitting there going, why are all these officers here when there's this little girl missing?
Right.
Like, why create that fake, like, anger towards your department? Nobody's over there saying anything like that. I highly doubt it.
We have quite a few people from the area that come in to chat. I have never, ever heard anyone say they were getting irritated, except for Don and Candace, by all the police and helicopters and everything, because they knew they were looking for a little girl. Were they annoyed yesterday when they were looking for a little boy?
Didn't hear anybody there either.
No. Absolutely ridiculous.
If anyone was really upset about the police, they kept it a secret, because I haven't heard anything about that.
Right.
And of course, Trevor, you were around when the Evelyn Boswell case, which is still going on because Megan hasn't gone to trial yet. Megan, Maggie, whatever you want to call her, Evelyn's so-called mother. Do you see a huge difference in the way Jeff Cassidy handled Evelyn's disappearance and how Lawson is handling Summers? Lawson, his lead detective Pruitt.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, Evelyn's case was even closer. I mean, talk about geographically than Summers is to mine. Not by much, because they're both pretty close to each other, but I was following that case a lot because it was, like I said, right here in town. I mean, right here in my county. And it was like every time Jeff Cassidy went up to speak, you knew that he cared. I mean, he went up there and the man seemed like he was fighting back tears more than not. I mean, when he went up there and he was talking about her, you could tell he was like, he actually, knew the weight of the situation, that it's a missing little girl and that something's happened. And like you showed earlier, I mean, he put his money up, he threw her in jail as soon as he could. I mean, I'm sure he was waiting on the first charge he could throw at her. And when she gave all those statements, locked her up.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knew that everything she was saying was BS, which I feel like we know from the Wells as well. Candace's story seems like BS, and Megan Boswell's story seemed like BS. And when she started throwing all that out, he said, "Oh, you're going to jail. And once we find your daughter, you're going to jail forever. But right now, you're going to jail for all the stupid crap you're saying. Like, hey, I'm pregnant and I didn't have to take a polygraph. Or I took a polygraph and I'm pregnant." And he's like, "We don't even have polygraphs."
She's with her father in Louisiana. She's with my mother in Mendota, Virginia. She's with my mother in North Carolina. So they're running around trying to find Evelyn And they already knew the end answer. And he just put her ass in jail.
Yeah.
He was like, too bad. You
He's like,
cannot waste their time and taxpayer dollars. Now let's look at some of the stories before I get to this clip that Candace has said about that day. She has gone as far as to say she's in danger, but she knows a lot more, but just can't say it. She has said she was pouring a bowl of cereal for Summer, and Summer just walked out the door. She said she was doing dishes and had her back turned, and Summer just walked out the door. And then we come to the last story where she walks her into the house by her hand because she's a helicopter mom.
Oh, yeah.
And she went to the basement to play. And in 2 minutes, someone flies blind into the holler, gets into the basement that you can't see in or out of, and kidnaps her without alerting a dog, the 3 boys in the house, Grandis, nobody. No, come on.
No. And this whole thing of, I just know she was abducted. And how do you know anything about it if you're innocent in her disappearance? How do you know that she was taken? You don't know anything. And when you're sitting there telling the police, you're not listening to me. They've said it themselves. They tried to tell the police she was taken and they didn't listen to them. Well, I wonder why. Because there's absolutely nothing to back that up.
To be quite honest, I believe that she's pled the fifth from the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think I do believe when Lawson says they're not cooperating, I believe it. Hell, they had Dawn in jail. These are not politically influential people where they're untouchable. They put Dawn in jail for a violation of probation. You know how many people on probation violate it?
Yeah.
They do all the time. They buy guns. They hang out with people that are felons. They don't go to work. They violate their probation all the time. But they put Don, instead of just having him pay for the DUI and go that course, they put him in jail for a year, probably hoping they would get some answers about Summer. God only knows what he sat there and told him. Who would know? But I would really love to know. Thank you, Pink Phoenix. Thank you, sweetheart. I would love to know why, just the next county over, why Ronnie Lawson won't take a page from Jeff Cassidy and lock her up on something. Anyone that says, oh, because she can get out the next day. Bull. No, doesn't work that way.
Is breaking news from News Channel 11.
The mother of missing Sullivan County toddler Evelyn Boswell is arrested. Good evening. Thanks for choosing News Channel 11 at 11 tonight. I'm Sarah Diamond. Josh Smith has the night off. 1 week after her daughter was reported missing, Megan Boswell was arrested on 1 count of giving false information to authorities. Ansley Daniel joins us now live from the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office with the latest on this breaking news. Ansley?
Sarah, it's been almost a week since that Amber Alert was issued for missing 15-month-old Evelyn Boswell. Tonight, the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department telling us that her mother, Megan Boswell, was arrested on account of giving false reports. This mugshot that you are seeing on your screen right now was released tonight around 9:30 by the Sheriff's Office. Boswell remains in jail tonight on a $25,000 bond. Earlier today, News Channel 11 crews saw her going into the sheriff's office around 1 p.m. Captain Andy Seabolt says every time she has spoken with investigators, her story has changed, echoing a sentiment from Sullivan County Sheriff Jeff Cassidy in a press conference last week. Seabolt says
every time she's talked to investigators, her story has changed. Now, mind you, you can lie to YouTube, you can lie to Facebook, you can lie on your Snapchat, but also investigators can use that information. They're hindering an investigation. Am I off course here?
Absolutely not.
That's
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That's all I was saying. Sorry.
I was just going to say, think of Letitia. How many stories did she come up with? What do we figure? 17 different stories or varieties? Yeah. But Megan was really trying to pin it on her mother, which I guess was a logical choice because her mother is a piece of work too.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, I know there was a lot of arguments going on about, was it Angela or was it Megan? A lot of people were blaming Hunter, which I still think he probably took a deal. I think he knew a lot more. And I don't mean Hunter in the Summer case. I mean Hunter in the Evelyn case. A lot of talk going on about Angela Boswell's boyfriend. There was a lot going on, but they got to the bottom of it. They got to the bottom of it, and they already knew. And so they put her in jail just for lying to him.
As she should be arraigned tomorrow by video with judges in Bristol sometime in the morning. This statewide Amber Alert for Evelyn Boswell remains in effect tonight. State and local investigators continuing to sort through hundreds of tips with no sign of the toddler. This after authorities say she has not been seen by members of her family since December 10th or 11th. On Monday, I spoke with Megan about her daughter missing and where she could be. She revealed to us that her mother took her to a campground in Mendota, Virginia, and that Evelyn was in a silver camper. The sheriff's department said in a search of 3 campgrounds in the area, there was no sign of Evelyn. Tonight, the search for Evelyn Boswell remains the sole focus of the Sullivan County Sheriff's Department and the TBI, while her mother remains in jail behind me here on a $25,000 bond for giving false reports. Live outside the Sullivan County Corrections Division, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
All right, so Jeff Cassidy wasn't having it. Wasting their time, wasting their resources, going to Virginia. They drained a pond in North Carolina. You know, you name it. They were turning it upside down. And he knew that he was being lied to by her primary caregiver, her custodial parent, Megan. So they put her in jail for lying to him. You can't do that. You just can't. You can say nothing. You're not going to get in trouble for saying nothing.
One thing I noticed is how they can tell us these things. Like before they found her body, they could tell us these things and it wouldn't tear apart the investigation. I feel like Lawson, and maybe it's just the way they operate, they feel like they can't share an ounce of anything until the case is closed. But I mean, Cassidy's camp shared this stuff, and you best believe he wouldn't have shared it if he thought it was going to hurt his case.
No way.
He would have just said, sorry, can't talk.
Well, do you think that's because there's so many unreliable people in Summer's case? Like, there's so many people that could have been involved?
Oh, definitely. I'm not saying the cases are the same at all. I just feel like he still was able to say, you know, Megan's give, you know, basically, or I guess it was the captain that said it, maybe not Sheriff Cassidy, but that that she's given a different story every time.
Right.
Maybe Candace hasn't. Maybe she has just shut up every time they go talk to her. But I find it hard to believe with how many stories she's given the public that she hasn't changed up one time. But maybe she hasn't. I don't know.
I mean, she could have just shut up the whole time. But I mean, things like this that she publicly says, I would think, because I mean, I know how they do it in my neck of the woods. They'd pay someone a visit. I mean, listen to this.
But I'm letting you know how I feel about the whole script. Right. But I'm letting you know how I feel about the whole script. Right.
How I feel about the whole script. I'd have been knocking her door down going, what script?
Yeah.
That means you're making stuff up. And this was on a public platform. This was on a public platform. And I know people say, well, it's because she's drinking, Okay, fine. She was drinking. But we also know how people find themselves to be more charming when they're drinking. They're smarter when they're drinking, and a lot of truth comes out. Listen to it again.
But I'm letting you know how I feel about the whole script. Right.
Gotta be kidding me. They have manufactured this story. The whole planting flowers story came because she and Grandis, I believe, did not want to be the last ones to see Summer, so they pinned it on the boys. They said, "Oh no, I grabbed her hand and I walked her in to the house. And then I asked the boys where she was, and they said, "Oh, she's in the basement playing." And I went to the basement and I looked under a mattress that's on a concrete floor. I looked under blankets. I looked outside the door and I knew she had been abducted. Who goes back in to check on their children after 2 minutes?
I never did.
Well, she's the helicopter mom. She had to have. She walked her all the way over there.
Mm-hmm. Walked her all the way over here.
And left her in a hot truck while she went shopping, but we can ignore that,
Mm-hmm.
Helicopter mom exclusion there. Little cheap there.
Man. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation tweeted back to one of you this week that they are not going to be having a press conference this year for the 2-year anniversary of Summer's disappearance. And I mean, I guess that's all fine and good, but I think they should keep people updated, but I guess when they're ready, they're ready.
5 months now since Summer Wells was reported missing from her home in the Beach Creek community. Authorities with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, the TBI, the FBI, they're all continuing to follow tips and leads about what happened to the little 5-year-old girl. Reporter Ansley Daniels spoke with Sheriff Ronnie Lawson about how the case is continuing to be handled.
I assure you, we've done everything when we was up on that scene, everything humanly possible to do.
It's been months since the weeks-long ground search for Summer Wells was called off in the Beach Creek community.
The manpower, the search, the helicopters, the airplanes, tremendous amount of dogs, cadaver dogs, search dogs.
How can you have those type of resources and not find one little girl unless somebody on that hill just wanted her gone and knew where to put her? Let's not forget that Grandis knows the caves. She's the rock collector. She does all of that.
But her knee was screwed up, so who did she have go do it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We know she was out of her mind that day, according to Hunter. My guess is she was mad that when she went to the hospital and sat there in the ER because, Candace was so worried about her mother's knee, as if Candace cares about anyone. Grandis is all pissed off because they give her a shot in the knee and she didn't get any pills because her work comp claim is in Wisconsin. She can't get them.
Search and rescue teams.
Now, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office, TBI, and FBI are still following up on tips.
I have one detective assigned to it, and TBI has agents assigned to it as well. We have the FBI partners on board. My detective, when he gets things comes in that he needs to look at, then he will get other detectives to help him follow up those leads.
Summer's parents and concerned community members believe she may have been abducted or trafficked.
I assure you, we've done everything when we was up on that scene, everything humanly possible to do.
The FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team even came to Beach Creek. That's a team dedicated to investigative, technical, analytical, and resource assistance on site during non-family child abductions, ransom child abductions, and mysterious disappearances of children.
We brought the FBI card team in, and everything that they can find, there was no indication whatsoever of child abduction.
The team.
Okay, if the FBI card unit said there is absolutely no evidence of a child abduction, then there's no abduction.
Right. I mean, they have like a 90+% success rate, I believe, the card team specifically. And when they make a claim like that, when they go back to Lawson and say, hey, there's no sign, we don't see any sign of abduction, that's telling.
Mm-hmm. Because we know other cases that the card unit has been involved. And when they say a child has been abducted, they've been abducted. Faye Sweatlick is one. Michael Vaughn is one. They believe Madalena Kojakari has been trafficked. And they say there's no evidence. None. They knew Athena Strand had been abducted. They know all this.
And 2 years later, they still haven't said, we don't believe there's foul play.
Now, isn't that something? We're coming on 2 years and they can't rule out foul play, but we're supposed to believe that within 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, she wandered off of her property, and with the biggest search in Tennessee history, no one came across her. Not one. Dogs, drones, helicopters, grown adults walking shoulder to shoulder. Insane. We're really supposed to believe that.
TBI asked for help finding the driver of a Toyota pickup truck that was seen in the area around the time Summer went missing. That's the last new public information that was released.
You would think if somebody had saw something, they would come forward, even if they just had the truck and didn't see anything. But like I said before, it may be somebody that has paid no attention to this, or maybe somebody that's got a criminal record and was driving what's supposed to be driving too.
Months later, that truck and its driver haven't been identified, but we learned more about the person who gave the information about the truck.
It was somebody driving a company truck that all the officers here are familiar with this gentleman, and we believe that he actually saw it.
Almost 5 months, more than 1,500 tips, and a massive ground search later, the question of where Summer Wells is still remains.
Nothing pointing to abduction, nothing pointing to foul play, other than her walking outside the house and not being
Lazy. They haven't ruled out foul play. Nothing pointing to abduction, nothing pointing to foul play. She just wandered out of the house. Well, then where is she? Then why haven't they ruled out foul play? Why haven't they done a press conference and said, get off these people's backs? They didn't do anything. He's out there somewhere. It's maddening. You can't have a child missing for 2 years and no accountability. Kid getting in a swimming pool, you realize what happened. You know, we had a case here a few years ago. This family had gone to the grocery store, and Dad pulled into the driveway. They were unloading groceries, and then he went to pull into the garage. Well, he didn't know that the 2-year-old was behind the car and ran his child over. Okay, that's an accident, and it's horrible. The man wanted to be put in jail, and they were like, no, hang on. No, we're not doing that. Ronnie just acts like if he can't solve it within 5 minutes, he's done with it.
being found is basically the main thing right now. What actually happened to her, we're still trying to find out.
Oh, still such a mystery. Now, the TBI declined our request for an interview and referred us to previously recorded interviews on their website. Let's take one more look at Summer Wells. If you have any credible information that could help lead investigators to Summer, you're asked to call 1-800-TBI-FIND.
Thank you very much. Right now, I want to take you to the Tri-Cities.
Maddening.
Trevor, do you know which detective is on the case, like assigned the case?
In Hawkins, Pruitt.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Pruitt. And he said if anybody wants to help, they can fill out an application.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. They drive me insane. All right, so back to Megan Boswell, because Jeff Cassidy said he's going to see this to the end. Hell or high water, he's going to see it to the end. He took it personal. He put up $1,000 of his own money for a reward fund. There was never any, oh, and if I can't find her in 6 months, I'm going to make sure that money gets somewhere else. No, that's not how it works. There's a reward for Kyron Horman. There's a reward for Michael Vaughn. There's a reward for Harmony Montgomery, and so on and so on. There's never a time limit on it. You have to have an arrest, a conviction. You have to find a body. Only in Hawkins County can you say, well, in 6 months, we're just going to get someone else.
Crazy.
Continuing to follow new developments after the woman accused of killing her 15-month-old baby appeared in court this afternoon.
At Megan Boswell's hearing today in Blountville, a judge heard arguments over whether certain photographs could be used as evidence and shown to jurors when the case goes to trial. Megan Boswell's accused of killing her then 15-month-old daughter, Evelyn, over 2 years ago. Now she faces 2 counts of felony murder and is accused of lying to investigators. Her daughter's remains were found on a family member's property.
In today's hearing, a forensic pathologist said Evelyn's cause of death was asphyxia, and a TBI agent said her body was found inside of a trash can in a playhouse.
Ansley Daniel has been in the courtroom throughout the day monitoring the graphic testimony. Ansley, let's go through the developments that came out of the hearing today.
Evelyn was found in a trash can inside of a playhouse.
At Grandma's house.
On the property that Megan lived on.
And it was assumed that that was Megan's playhouse when she was little.
Yep.
But they turned it into a storage shed, basically. And I feel really sorry for that grandma because she loved Evelyn. She would babysit her all the time, and it would have been Evelyn's great grandma, I guess, Maggie's grandma.
Horrible. And the condition that they found Evelyn in, I really wish they would seek the death penalty for Megan. I know it's really hard to get a jury to convict a woman, but
if they saw those pictures, though, Brooks.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's all they need. And I think what her first attorney, the bigger guy, was trying to do is get her to plead. If you plead guilty, we can, make a deal. And I think that's why she kept avoiding him, and eventually they parted ways, was because she wouldn't agree to a deal. But again,
I felt bad for Brad Sproles because
I did too.
He had been working really hard on the case, and he knew the evidence. He knew it. And this next attorney, he's got to go back and go through all of it, and that's going to take forever and a day because he's got other cases as well. So she just has to sit. She doesn't like her defense. and the way it's going. Well, you can't defend someone who puts their baby in a trash can wrapped in aluminum foil. It's impossible.
Well, Josh and Sarah, a lot of information came out of this 3-hour hearing today that detailed the photos of the night that Evelyn was found. Now, the purpose of today's hearing was to decide which photos could be used in trial. They weren't shown today, but were only described in testimony. That testimony, though, revealed that Evelyn died of asphyxiation or suffocation. The state did bring in a forensic pathologist to explain how these photos reveal her cause of death, along with how decomposed her body was when it was found. It explained that Evelyn was found inside of a playhouse, but that her body was wrapped in aluminum foil, then inside what is described as a thick fleece blanket. She was then put in a trash bag and placed upside down in a garbage can.
What's really important for me was to show the placement of the foil and how tightly actually one can see the outline of the head and upper body with the foil being attached. So it's not crumpled foil from somebody, I don't know, barbecuing or doing something and then putting it next to the child. It's actually wrapped around the upper part of the child.
The photos also show indentions on Evelyn's head and body from the foil and blanket, and show that her body was in a position the pathologist said wouldn't allow her to breathe. The court did have to take a recess before getting deep into that testimony today because Megan Boswell hadn't seen the photos before today's hearing. She was visibly crying when she walked back into the courtroom this afternoon.
The pictures that we went back and went through are very graphic and just very disturbing. And, you know, she reacted the way I would expect any of us to. You know, it was very upsetting. Unfortunately, I've had the opportunity to look at those pictures over and over again.
See, and her attorney, Maggie's attorney, was so kind to her and so patient, even though she did the unthinkable. And for her to say, oh, I don't like the way that he's handling my defense. You can't defend that. You can't defend wrapping your child in aluminum foil so tight that, I mean, her little baby face was imprinted.
I just pray she was dead before they put her in the shed.
Me too.
By the way they described it, it sounded like she wasn't, but I really hope that.
I know. I know. It just breaks your heart.
It sounded to me like she wasn't dead either, that she struggled. And especially the way that her head, like she was shoved down in that trash can. God.
Just think of the anger, though. Why, you know, what could she have done? What could have that little girl done to make her mommy do that to her?
Because her mom wanted to be with Chicken Shack. Yeah. The guy that owns the Chicken Shack. Hunter?
Yeah.
Not the
Chicken
Hunter
boy
case, but the Hunter in the Evelyn case. Yep, we have two Hunters. And she wanted to be with Chicken Shack. And Chicken Shack said he wanted kids someday, but not anyone else's kids.
Right.
Disgusting. Hell, she moved in with him.
Right. Well, I think his parents even asked, where's the baby, or where's...
The photos weren't the only point of contention today. Court started by Boswell asking for a new attorney. She and Sproles told the judge that they are not on the same page when it comes to this case. And that all came to a head today as he said they weren't able to effectively prepare for this hearing. The judge denied that request, but said that could change depending on how they work together in the future. The judge only decided to omit a handful of photos from the trial. He said in his eyes, especially after today's testimony, they are all relevant when it comes to finding out what happened to Evelyn Boswell. In Blunteville, Ansley Daniel, News Channel 11.
Horrible. Horrible. So I think we're starting to see a big difference, though, between the way Jeff Cassidy treated that case and the way Ronnie Lawson is treating Summers' case. We've heard Pruitt himself say, and we're going to look at it again here in a second. We've heard Pruitt say when he comes in, he checks the tip line, checks email, checks voicemail, then he gets back to his regular work. What could be more important than a missing child? I can't think of one.
Nothing.
And then I compare how Brandy deals with missing Monkey and just how she communicates with the police compared to Candace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, disgusting.
Mm-hmm. And as far as Dawn and Candace's trash, well, we've seen their house. They don't really throw things away. And every so often, they just put trash in a barrel and burn it. They don't pay for anyone to come by and pick up the garbage. My goodness. All right, so the lead investigator in Summer's case is Pruitt. Pruitt is nothing like the captain in Sullivan County that found probable cause to arrest Maggie for lying to him. Put her in jail. $25,000 bond is what the judge gave her. Nobody was going to bond her out. Her dad was pissed. Her mom doesn't have 2 dimes to rub together, and if she did, she's going to buy meth with it. And we know Candace has changed her story. We know she has. Let's listen to Pruitt.
Well, today, for the first time, we are learning the lead investigator in the Summer Wells case is speaking out. The pressure has been immense on the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office to figure out what happened to a little girl who reported missing back in June.
Ansley Daniel has been following this case closely. She has an update. Ansley?
Josh and Sarah, there was frustration, some anger, and the presence of a heavy burden when I sat down with the detective John Pruitt with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. He's led this investigation into Summer's disappearance. He told me that as difficult as this case is to work, he is nowhere near giving up.
Heavy burden? That's your oath. That's your job. You don't go into law enforcement for the perks. You don't go into law enforcement for the pay. I mean, you get good insurance. I'll give them that much. But come on. A heavy burden, but you just want to write this off like she wandered off and she's around there somewhere and eventually somebody's going to come across a bone? No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It is a lot to shoulder, it's a lot to burden. We have a missing child that we haven't found yet.
Almost 10 months and so much heartache. And investigators aren't immune from that hurt. The question of what happened to Summer Wells still has no answer.
There haven't been very many cases like this. I have never worked a missing child case with all these different entities and agencies involved.
The lead investigator on the case says his days are devoted to finding her.
My day, I check tip line and voicemail when I first get here. I do phone calls and follow-ups on any credible leads I've got. I follow up on anything that I didn't get to a good conclusion the day before.
Okay, what is a good conclusion for Pruitt? I go and I follow up on anything I didn't get a good conclusion for the day before. What's a good conclusion? Because you haven't found Summer and you're not looking for her. Jeff Cassidy said they were going to continue to look. No matter what, they were going to find her. I mean, who in the hell takes an oath to protect the public and knows that there's a child missing in their county and spends more time at the pawn shops than looking for a missing little girl? I can't make sense of it.
I just don't understand how it's a burden. Like, I mean, she's the one that's missing.
Mhm.
She's the one that endured whatever happened that day. I mean, what's the, the burden? I mean, that should be, you strive to solve cases like these, You can hand out 1 million speeding tickets, but where you really make the difference is in cases like these when you find a child or at least get justice for them if something's happened.
Checking voicemails. You come rolling in, you get your coffee, you get your donut, your breakfast sandwich, whatever. You check some voicemails, and then what do? And I can just imagine the voicemails. Can anyone help me here? Can you just imagine Pruitt's voicemails?
They're probably not real friendly.
Oh, I imagine, they go something like this. Beep. Hello, Detective Pruitt. Did you see Jody Sue last night? Hello, Detective Pruitt. Did you watch such and such last night? Detective Pruitt, did you know that Don and Candace are in Arkansas? That's the kind of stuff that he gets. The only people that can give a real tip are Candace and Grandis because they were the adults home that day. I don't know where Don was. I can't say. I'm not going to put him there because I have to be fair. But we know for a fact that her mother and her grandmother were home. Checking voicemails. God.
Then I go into my normal caseload of any new cases I've got, follow-ups on them.
They've received nearly 2,000 tips.
I will follow up on everything I can to try to bring closure for this.
Self-proclaimed online investigator.
Okay, that is the lead investigator that answers to Ronnie Lawson. I'm going to play this again. He says, I follow up on everything I can. It could be the smallest thing, but you follow up on everything you can. Who has ever heard a lead detective looking for a missing child who answers directly to the sheriff say to the media, I follow up on everything I can? Listen to it again.
Received nearly 2,000 tips.
I will follow up on everything I can to try to bring closure for this.
Self-proclaimed online investigators and social media sleuths have turned this case into a mess of ideas.
Okay. Then Pruitt says to try to bring closure to this. Not arrests, not convictions. He's going to bring closure to this. He follows up on everything he can, and he's just going to bring closure to it.
Make it sound like he's going to let it go cold to me.
Me too. Because they're not looking for Summer.
I wonder how many times he would have to visit Ben Hill before it would be considered like harassment. Every day,
Yep.
Every other day, once a week.
Alibi said closure. Yeah, that was the first word I noticed. We want closure, not conviction, not arrest, not a trial, not accountability. We just want closure. Sick of these damn voicemails. Sick of hearing about Jody Sue. People calling saying, if you go to the 6 hour and 12 minute mark, she's on her second pack of smokes and she's about to spill the beans.
And tips have come in from everywhere across the U.S. and even overseas. That help, Pruitt says, has led to little more than time wasted.
If these people want to help so much, we always accept applications to certified individuals.
Woo-wee! Woo-wee! Anybody want to go work at Hawkins County? Anybody that wants to help? We always accept applications for $14 an hour to
You gonna hand
certify
us?
individuals.
You gonna hand us the case file, Pruitt, when we start working there?
Yeah.
Well, if he does, he'll take credit for it, Trevor.
Mhm.
Because you'll solve it. If you had all the information, you would solve it. I have
Oh, if
a
I was in
feeling.
there, I'd be up on 110 until somebody said you gotta leave.
Right? That's what
My
I'm
boss
saying.
was
Why
said,
isn't he? Go ahead.
I was just saying until somebody came up and said you gotta go, I'm staying there.
Why isn't he just sitting in his patrol car right outside the door? Knocking on the door every other day. Time to talk.
Mhm. I mean, you can knock on anyone's door. I mean, if they get a restraining order, you can't. And you can't get a restraining order against the police.
You wouldn't think.
No. You know,
That's
and
what-
now you've got people calling Springdale police in Arkansas, telling them Don and Candy are there, telling them what hotel room. They're telling them the whole 9 yards, and they're like, we're aware.
Cool beans. What do you want us to do?
We're aware. We
Go get
know
order-
here.
room service for him? Like,
Yeah. DoorDash and drugs. Okay.
Goodness. You know, that whole drug situation where the drug dealer cold called Don and knocked on the door. He wanted some drugs, and Don's like, no, I'm good, buddy. And didn't even call the police to say, hey, someone's here trying to sell me drugs. You guys want to come check that out? No, I'm good, buddy. I'm like, are you serious? Has anybody, let's take a poll. Has anybody ever had anyone knock on your door and say, I've got some extra drugs. Would you like to buy them?
can't
For
say I
me,
have.
go ahead.
I can't say I have.
I was going to say, for me, it's always the vacuum salesman. And then once in a while, we get a Jehovah Witness wanting to talk about God. Yeah.
I get people sometimes want to sell books, some kind of big old thick books. I don't know.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
those.
Books.
Never really like, here's a bag of crystal meth, you know, would you like some?
Nah.
No, Mormons don't do that. The only people that show up to my house are Mormons. They didn't talk to me about the Latter-day Saints. That's it.
Right.
They don't say, oh, and by the way, while I'm here with my white shirt and on my bicycle, I've also got some drugs. Would you like to buy the drugs? No. No, that doesn't happen. Don's
We can
world,
install all new windows and provide you 3 pounds of marijuana while we're at it.
Yeah.
And if you order today, we will include crystal meth.
Oh, Trev. Good one.
that does not happen. That does not happen. But according to Don, it happens all the time. Every day in America. Every day. So I'm assuming somebody in here got a knock on the door because we have 425 people in here. Someone has had a knock on the door. Somebody with some extra drugs and a Latter-day Saint Bible. Then we have Pruitt, who says, if you want to help, fill out an application. I cannot believe he said that.
More than time wasted.
If these people want to help so much, we always accept applications to certified individuals.
He says the investigation has led to the continued thought that if Summer is found, it will be nearby.
I believe that she would probably be somewhere close by, because we found nothing to lead us to believe that she's been abducted or trafficked out of the area.
Okay, right there. He said, we have found nothing to prove that she's been abducted or trafficked out of the area. So she's somewhere there close by. Well, again, I back the blue, but I don't back the blue no matter what they do. My question is then, why aren't they looking for her? Do you think Jeff Cassidy would have stopped looking for Evelyn and just been like, well, she probably just wandered off?
Yeah, no.
Did they search Ben Hill Road? I mean, did they use like luminol and all that, or do we know?
Do you know, Trev?
I know they had the dogs and such up there, but that's about as far as I know.
I just didn't know if they went inside at all. If they took their phones, you know.
They took phones. They said they took all digital evidence and copied it. And then Dawn claims they went in the house and, tore everything apart. So I guess they did go through the house then. But they do have on their page that they took digital evidence. So I guess they took phones and if there were any kind of other electronics. I don't see Candace as the type to have like a nice big computer, but if she did, they probably took it too.
Yeah, they took a ton of electronics, and on the 911 call, and it was just the dispatch. You don't hear Dawn or Candace talking. On the 911 call, they said, search the house, even if the parents say they already have. So they went through the house.
Pruitt works alongside the TBI and FBI. Along with the ground search, Pruitt says investigators have poured through data. Almost a year into the case, and Detective Pruitt says it still remains a very active investigation.
I'm not going to let it go cold.
Well, Detective Pruitt.
All right, that's his word. I'm not going to let it go cold, but you're not looking for her. I ask again, from everything that we have seen in this show about the difference in law enforcement from Sullivan County to Hawkins County, do you think Jeff Cassidy would have stopped getting search warrants? He would have continued searching. That's just my belief. What do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, Cassidy would, I fully believe he would still be on it and would be actively and publicly actively doing it. He'd be doing whatever press conference he needed to say, hey, today we're doing this, or today we are still searching. Can't go into details, but we're doing X, Y, and Z. And we're looking. And he would actually keep looking too, I fully believe.
I do too.
And investigating. I think he would hold he'd hold feet to the fire until he got answers to what happened. If he didn't that early. I mean, clearly he threw her in jail early and they found her, but if they didn't, I feel like he would have had her, interrogating her all the time, interrogating anybody else he needed to, until he figured out where she was.
And he also had the support of Maggie's dad. And he just gave him permission to search because Maggie was living in one of his homes, trailers. So he gave him permission to search whatever they needed to search too. Whereas in Summer's case, it's almost no support from the family.
Well, and even from the grandmother, she just knew she was abducted. She gave her a peppermint. Supposedly they planted succulents because they were outgrowing their pots. That would take 150 years. And then when Candace said she's gone, she just knew she was abducted. Lady, you just saw her. Nobody in their right mind would be like, oh, you're right, she's been abducted. What do we do? I guess we call Dawn. Do you want to call Dawn or do you want to call the police? Oh, no, I'll just go look for her. Oh, okay. So Candace leaves twice that afternoon from when they get home, calls Dawn on Facebook Messenger, and then the police get called at 6:34 p.m. Where Summer said, well, Pruitt, what are you doing to not make it go cold? Answer that question for all of us. He's checking voicemails. Jody Sue keeps him busy. Jody Sue keeps him busy. And the only reason that she got a peppermint is because you get them free at Sonic. But they're like, it's her favorite candy. Really?
My grandma used to always have butterscotch discs. You know, the hard candy, the butterscotch.
I love those.
I do too.
I used to like the butterscotch lifesavers too, and I can't
Oh,
find
yeah.
I love those, man.
Or were those butter rum? Those might have been butter rum.
Yeah, I think
But I think that's a huge difference too, is just the Maggie's dad's side was really supportive of Cassidy doing whatever he had to do. And he never bonded her out. Because I think at first she had the ability to get bonded out, and he never went and bailed her out.
Yeah, on her false reporting, she had or her false statements, whatever the charge was, she had bond.
Yeah. And he just let her sit.
25,000, and we all know Tommy's got 2,500 because he wouldn't take any donations from anybody. He did Evelyn's funeral, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
So he would basically need $2,500 to get out of jail, and he just let her sit.
Yep.
She sat there, Tattoo sat there, Meth Mom sat there, and Megan is still sitting there, and she's gonna be there for life. So the best thing that Megan can do is listen to her attorney, because life is a long time. When people say, oh, life is short, no, it's a long time. And so there's a big difference in jail between solitary and getting to work in the laundromat, or being in your jail cell 23 hours a day as opposed to working in the kitchen. There's a big difference. Getting to use the library, getting to go outside. So that's really all they're trying to get Megan to do right now, is just to plead, make a deal, and be done. Then we have Pruitt checking voicemails. Checking voicemails. Got to be kidding me. All right, guys. Well, this has been a great show. Thank you for going through this with me. Thank you, Christina, for coming up. That was a big treat. Trevor, thank you for coming up. Always a pleasure to have you. And all of you, thank you for coming in. Thank you for talking about Summer's case, keeping it about Summer, keeping it about her disappearance. You have no idea how much that is appreciated, because that's where the real focus needs to be. 100%. Now, I put this up at the beginning of the show. Someone cannot go missing without someone knowing something somewhere, particularly when it's a child. You see, children don't just Summer didn't go to the store to get a pack of smokes. Summer didn't have friends. Summer wasn't, she didn't run away. Summer didn't go to do laundry. She's missing somewhere, and someone knows. How could you not? How could you not? I want to say thank you really quick to Stacy for the super sticker. We have several new members. Welcome, Gay Lee. Welcome, Single Mama 4. Thank you, Nucky. Thank you, Pink Phoenix. Thank you, Mama Bear. Thank you, Sonia, for the super stickers. Those donations keep the channel going big time, and I appreciate each and every one of you. As always, thank you, Mod Squad. And I will see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be doing a show about the suspects around the Michael Vaughn case. And I've invited a few of them on, so we'll see what happens. So you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow morning.